Hello everyone, this is Sue and welcome to my channel and welcome to the Come to My Window Mixed Media Art Hop. In the description box below you will find the links to everyone's videos that are participating in this hop. Everyone that's participating, they are all such amazing mixed media artists. I know you will totally enjoy everyone's videos. Today I'm working in this ledger book that I got from Tuesday Morning about a year and a half ago, and I'll be using some Dina Wakley paints in pink, yellow, and green. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and take my card and get a little bit of color on the page. I really like this particular paint because it is translucent and I can still see the lines on the paper, underneath the paint. And I like the look of this paper, so it's a little hard for me to cover it up, but I did want to get some color onto the background. I always do enjoy adding a little bit of yellow to my pages, one of my favorite colors, along with pink. But I want to tone down the background, right? I don't want the colors to be that bold. So I'm using another newer color of Dina Wakley's paints, and it is called Buff. So my goal with using the buff is to tone it down, and also I'm really liking the effect that I'm getting here where I'm leaving some of the paint thicker in certain areas than in other areas, and that just gives a little bit additional visual interest to the background of the page. I gave it a good dry because some of that paint was a little bit thick, so I had to give it a good dry. And now I'm going to use this stencil with some archival ink. I liked this stencil because it has like a lattice effect to it, and I thought that would be good with the windows and the flowers. And just a makeup sponge, and I'm going to get a little bit of that deep yellow color in just certain areas on the page. I don't want to cover the whole page with it. I just want to add a little bit more of visual interest to the background. And one thing I want to make sure that I mention is this particular journal that I'm working in. My goal in this journal is to keep it flat. I want to keep it flat so that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have done this, where you've worked in a journal and it ends up just being so thick and chunky that you can't close it at all. So every page here that I'm showing you has very little dimension on it, if any at all. So I have successfully been able to keep it on the flat side. That in itself is a challenge for sure. Now I am gonna add a little piece of, I think this is actually like paper that you would put on the edge of a shelf, like in your kitchen, where you put your plates and stuff. I think it's like a decorative edging to the shelf. I mean, it's just paper, but I didn't want it white, so I put a little bit of that yellow paint, which is called Dandelion, and I'm using this glue, which is called glitter glue, and I love it. I don't know why it's called glitter glue. I don't think there's any glitter in it. But I love it because I love that really fine tip nozzle, and it has never clogged, and I've used it for quite a while now, and I'm very, very, very happy with it, so I can recommend it highly. And now that the background is done, it's dried, now I want to look at placement of all of the pieces that I have taken out of my stash, and I want to get onto this page. Now again, I'm keeping in mind that it has to stay as flat as possible. So those flowers that I just had in my hand, they were from an Etsy shop, and they actually have to be cut apart. They actually come connected just with paper, and you have to cut it apart. These windows are from Marta, who is Marame Small Art here on YouTube. And that rice paper, that pink flower in the middle there, is a piece of rice paper. Also from Marta's website, and I'm just like loving all of this. It's actually the inspiration for this mixed media art hop. The whole theme of the windows that I came up with had to do with these windows right here. So this is where it all started, was these windows. And I'm just placing things around, and now I'm happy, with the placement, and I'm going to go ahead and start actually gluing the pieces down. So I'm going to start with this middle piece of rice paper. Now I didn't want to get it real wet, so I am using as little of the Liquitex matte medium as possible. One effect that this matte medium gives when you put down rice paper like this, and you'll see as I'm working on this, so it's like the wetter that piece of rice paper gets, and as I'm adhering it down with the matte medium, the more it blends onto the page. It's almost like you see like the edges disappear. So when I tore that piece out of a bigger piece of rice paper, I made sure that the edges were not like I didn't want to cut it. I wanted the edges to be like not shredded, but frayed is the word, so that when I did this right here, it kind of just melts into the page, and it did, and I love it, and it's beautiful. So I was really happy with that. Now I want to go ahead and spray these chipboard windows with some walnut spray made by Sukaniko, and I'm sure I said that totally wrong, but it's some old spray I got at Michael's many years ago. So I went ahead and let that dry, and now we're going to start adhering down everything. Okay, I'm still using the same glue, that glitter glue, and yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue all of the pieces down. When I work on pages like this, and I have I want to say like different clusters on the page. So to me, the clusters on this page would be obviously where the windows are, as well as even the middle piece, that rice paper. But as I'm putting the windows down, one thing that I really try to stick to is I don't want my focal areas or my clusters lining up horizontally or vertically. So like this one that I'm going to put down now up in the upper right corner, I put a little bit too much to the right. It should have been a little bit more to the left. So I was a little off on putting that one down. So now when I go to put the one in the lower right onto the page, I ended up having to move it over to the right a little more than I originally wanted to, but that was okay. My goal was just to make sure nothing is lining up. To me, for some reason, visually, I like it to be off, like not centered, so to speak. Now I'm working on getting that little tag onto that little wooden fence, and it says "So Happy," and I just had I got that in some die cut set. To be totally honest, I'm not sure which set it was, but yeah, so it was on my desk. It was sitting on my desk. I'm like, oh, well, that would be fun to put on here. Are you guys like that? You kind of look around your desk and it's like, oh, okay, I'll use that. And you find a place for it and all is well. And that's what it was with that little itsy bitsy piece on that fence. So I'm going to adhere the fence down, and then we will go ahead and get that So Happy on there. And before I put it down, I wanted to put a little bit of that yellow ink onto it just to give it some color and, make it have a little bit more interest to it. And as I put this down on there, I need to make sure that I can put that flower on there without covering up the words So Happy. So I looked to see where it needed to be, and it needed to be over to the right a little bit. And then this way I can go ahead and get that flower on there. Now what I'm doing, and this is something else I like doing, you'll see me here, I'm overlapping that rose onto the shutter. Another effect that I like in my work is overlapping. So not only do I like things to be not lined up, but I like things to be overlapping. As I continue working on the placement of everything, you're just going to see me, fooling around here with the pieces that I had cut out from that sheet of roses. And this was what I had left. I kind of have a feeling I have another sheet of this somewhere in this house. Where that is, I'm not quite sure. And I didn't go look for it. So I'm going to just work with the pieces that I have and just make it work. So I thought about, this piece of rice paper, and I thought it was so pretty with that rose, that pink rose on it. But I thought it would look pretty to add some of these other roses to it. I thought the colors went really, really well together. And yeah, I was super happy with it. So I went ahead and adhered those two down. And then I'm like, well, I kind of changed gears a little bit up on top, and I decided to go ahead and glue down two roses at the top of this piece of rice paper as well. And yeah, and I really like that. I like the look of it on this page. So I was happy with everything that I had on here. And now I'm going to work on the word adore. I took some of the archival ink in Rose Madder, and I put it on that wooden piece, the adore. I glued it down, and I'm in love with this page. But like any mixed media artist, what is something that we love to do on our pages? Well, it's splattering. We love to splatter. And I took some of this bronze, this iridescent bronze, or actually it's rich copper, Liquitex ink. I added a little water to make it a little bit more fluid because this particular ink for some reason is a little thick. So I wanted to be able to splatter it, okay? So I added a little bit of water, and now I'm just adding some tissue on top of the pieces, my focal pieces that I didn't want to get a lot of the splatter on. I wanted to try to keep it off of those pieces. But you'll see in a second here, watch when I lift off those pieces of tissue. There was like too many areas where there was no splatter and it looked funny. So I decided, I'm like, oh, should I put the napkin down again or the tissue down, or should I just try? So I did it in a controlled way where I did get a little bit purposely onto the flowers and everything, but I did it slow and I did it gently, and I was able to get the splatter exactly where I wanted it to be. And that's it for this page, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you go ahead and watch and subscribe to everybody that is below in the description box. They, again, have all amazing videos. And here's a close-up, and please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you. Have a blessed week, everybody, and thank you for being here. All right, bye-bye.